Nile Valley Ultra Terrestrial Radio. Nile Valley Scrolls. Nile Valley Ultra Terrestrial Cosmic Network. Broadcasting on the arc frequency. Telepathically searching for signs of life. The title of this week's Nile Valley Ultra-Terrestrial Radio broadcast, dated Thursday, October 22nd, 2015, is Our Cultural Base, Chapter 2, Update. This is an update of another presentation that we refer to as being Divine Word. We have never attempted to find this information because instead, this information has always found us. Obstacles have continuously appeared for the purpose of attempting to prevent us from presenting this Nile Valley Ultra-Terrestrial Radio broadcast. Deep controversy has also continuously surrounded me wherever I happen to be. Various groups of individuals have relentlessly and viciously attempted to reduce my credibility, ridicule me, humiliate me, grossly disrespect me, and to work behind the scenes against and toward the well-being of our divine utopian cosmic family. They have all miserably failed in what also they have attempted to initiate against us is now instead happening to them, amplified, magnified, and multiplied also many times, bringing forth also their own destruction. Nile Valley Ultra-Terrestrial Cosmic Network and Nile Valley Institute is our cultural base. It has become obvious that Chapter 1 of this Nile Valley Ultra-Terrestrial Radio broadcast, Our Cultural Base, has freaked out most of the individuals who listened to this Nile Valley Ultra-Terrestrial Radio Internet broadcast. I have no intention whatsoever toward attempting to convince anyone about anything. I have been divinely receiving and gathering the components of the interdimensional nightmare theater production of what is referred to as the New One World Order, starring a cast of remote-controlled androids, fiends, ghouls, and vampires, representing the so-called Rothschild, Khazarian Mafia, and the Vampire Federation as European secret societies, disguised as human beings that have been referred to as the so-called elite, being also worshipped by the global mass population of zombies that are worse than also the Vampire Federation of European Secret Societies, whom they emulate, copy, and imitate. I also became deeply haunted by a comment presented by a member of the so-called elite who said they refer to us as being demonic and evil while ignoring their inhumanity also toward their fellow man. Look at how they grossly and horribly mishandle and mistreat one another. I had gone into deeper meditation on those comments while reflecting also specifically on the situation at Nile Valley Institute in reference to the so-called former Council of Elders and our Nile Valley Institute students. Most of the former Council of Elders slipped under subliminal demonic possession, and they had attempted to also take the divine utopian information that I had presented based on our divine code of procedure collectively, and they attempted to deceptively, deviously, diabolically, and subversively take the information from Nile Valley Institute and woefully attempted to establish their own individual agendas. I stood back, observing and watching those individuals in amazement, becoming deeply intrigued as I monitored their moves through also the all-seeing eye, also referred to as the eye all-seeing of the original Cometian Metu Neter, also referred to by the name of Heru. Most of the individuals that had enrolled at Nile Valley Institute to receive divine information concerning our divine utopian ultra-terrestrial original Cometian culture. Those individuals became demonically possessed, and they did precisely the same identical thing being attempted by the former so-called Nile Valley Institute Council of Elders I have been speaking about. Also, while in deep meditation, I reflected back across America in reference to the so-called African American mass population and how they have subversively, treacherously, and viciously mishandled, grossly disrespected, and mistreated one another. Referring again to the words of that so-called elite member of the Vampire Federation of European secret societies, who said, in his own words, they refer to us as demonic and evil while ignoring their inhumanity also toward their fellow man. Look at how they grossly and horribly mishandle and mistreat one another. I re-emphasize again. We have been surrounded by various groups of Melkite Coptic Negroes who worship, imitate, and emulate Western European Americans. And those individuals are precisely the groups referred to by Carter G. Woodson in his book, The Miseducation of the Negro. I would now speculate and say that an estimated 95 to 99% of the individuals among the so-called African American mass population have already mentally and spiritually perished, and they have not realized it. Also, they have not shown any compassion, concern, appreciation, and or love toward our Nile Valley ultra-terrestrial cosmic network. And we most definitely have no love toward them. They have clearly, repeatedly, and relentlessly clearly shown they are the bitter, demonic enemies of us, the ultra-terrestrial original Cometians, divine utopian, cosmic light, guiding us through each day and each night. It also has been repeatedly said, Israel is the avowed enemy of what secretly their leaders refer to as American Goyim, also known as their American cattle. I referred to the so-called American mass population in chapter 1 of our cultural base as being chickens, cows, pigs, and sheep. In the physical form of human beings, in human physical form, they have the consciousness of docile farm animals. And they eat chickens, cows, pigs, and sheep, perpetuating the mantra that has been repeatedly said, you are what you eat. I had been reading about another so-called African American male that had been gunned brutally and viciously down by a Western European American male so-called white supremacist law enforcement Gestapo agent. What most individuals have continued to fail in their lack of realization and cosmic awareness is the law enforcement so-called agencies across America in cities and towns and counties have been retrained in Israel by so-called Homeland Security, controlled by the State of Israel. And they have declared war toward the so-called African American mass population, also toward the so-called Christian Western European Americans. What happens to be astounding, fascinating, amazing, alarming, and concerned by me is to continue to quietly observe most of the so-called African American mass population continue to be mentally and spiritually asleep. Wow. This cosmic and cultural war is now accelerating and escalating toward them and toward us all. Various groups of individuals across America are now discussing the Lamar Odom situation involving Khloe Kardashian and the Kardashian sisters. While most of those individuals have continued to allow themselves to be grossly misinformed, misled, and misguided in reference to that situation, like they have been grossly misled, misguided, and misinformed about everything else. Lamar Odom had threatened to expose the coven of so-called Armenian witches of the Kardashian female demonic draconian coven. Each and every male that has attempted to expose that group of hybrid Arconian and also Draconian nightmare vampire sexual creatures, each and every one of those individuals that have attempted to expose them has mysteriously been destroyed. We must go back to the movie Wizard of Oz, when Oz had said, "Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain." We shall continue to speak on that situation during the next Nile Valley Ultra-Terrestrial radio broadcast titled Ultra-Terrestrial. It is not a so-called random coincidence that Lamar Odom went into a coma immediately after he vowed and threatened to expose the Kardashian female witches' coven. And it has been said that a blood ritual sacrifice for Halloween, referred to by the Wiccan and the Druid name of Samhain, had taken place using Lamar Odom as the blood sacrifice. And I continue to quietly observe in amazement as millions, if not hundreds of millions, of mentally and spiritually desolate so-called Americans are preparing to dress up for Halloween while not being aware they are channeling ghouls, demons, vampires, fiends, and other interdimensional creatures that are re-entering a cosmic doorway reopened by the collective unconsciousness of the mass population paying homage to and worshiping that demonic, interdimensional, vampire, blood sacrificial offering and ritual. We have also reposted the following comments for you to also think deeply about, referred to as the final chapter in reference to the situation concerning the so-called African American mass population. Listen carefully to what is being said by this brother, who was a former high-ranking member of the Black Panther Party. This is what he said. Folks, the handwriting is on the wall. The Illuminati and Brotherhood's plans for the final chapter, just like the final solution, is now in the works. They are systematically closing down your schools, classrooms, and colleges. Your churches are being infiltrated, corrupted, and taken over by the agents of the Brotherhood. Most of our young men are under the yoke of the police, military, Gestapo state, and prison industrial system. Most of your employment opportunities are being closed, also downed, parceled out also to others, shipped out of town and over to the other side of the world. Your classical and traditional global industries of power, influence, and wealth, like the black music entertainment industry of jazz, blues, rhythm and blues, soul music, is now slowly withering away to nothing. We must keep in mind that most so-called African Americans are grossly unaware that during the 1960s, what is referred to as being so-called soul music was the number one requested and the number one selling recorded music across the global environment in all countries. We had posted an interview on PBS of Ahmet Ertegun, former chairman of Atlantic Records, when he said that Black American soul music is the most requested, the most popular, powerful, and best-selling music of the world. He referred to our music as being world music. Most individuals among the so-called African American mass population have continued to sleep on this fact. Our premier athletes are unorganized and being swayed away from the people. Those comments about so-called African American soul music is based on my research, adding to this powerful message and warning being extended by this former Black Panther Party member. And I shall be revealing his name soon, as we have been forced to go into a screening process because of the Melkite Coptic Negroes that have been planted on our pathway for the sole and extreme purpose to attempt covertly to sabotage the implementation and management of our divine utopian cosmic family agenda at Nile Valley Ultra-Terrestrial Cosmic Network and Nile Valley Institute. As I had been saying, our premier athletes are unorganized and being swayed away from the people. They are under constant police, military, Gestapo state surveillance, attack, and lockdowns. They are under a state of seizure. For me, the answer is rather simple. Resist, resist, resist. Overcome and transcend. Those are my words. Hotep. Also, go to Nile Valley Network .blogspot.com. Let me repeat, Nile Valley Network, all one word, .blogspot.com. And you can read the printed version of the Nile Valley Scroll, our cultural base. Also, scroll down to the bottom of the page to PayPal to extend your financial pledges. You can also go to Facebook to Ark Lord Imhotep and leave your comments on our Facebook site. Also, go to the YouTube channel to our Utopian Dreams music channel, which is spelled UTOPIAN Dreams, DREAMZ, and listen to some of the ultra-terrestrial, divine, utopian, original Comanchean musical sketches that we have posted. I can also be contacted at Lord Amen Ra at yahoo.com. That's AMEN, Amen Ra. Lord Amen Ra at yahoo.com. We must have a strong and true cultural base to synchronize the flow of our individual thought vibrations collectively toward our divine utopian protection, prosperity, sovereignty, and well-being. Nile Valley Ultra-Terrestrial Cosmic Network and Nile Valley Institute is our cultural base. Because of the diabolical and evil demonic agenda being directed toward the so-called African American mass population by the Ashkenazi, Khazarian, global corporate banking mafia representing the Vampire Federation of European secret societies, we must now also collectively and continuously retune the ultra-terrestrial original Comanchean divine utopian cosmic shield, ultimately protecting our cultural base. We have also reposted the following comments for you to think deeply also about. Enter the shadow alien government. referred to as the SAG, the so-called committee, a group of so-called elite, has used its skill set to establish what some experts call the SAG, the shadow alien government, where all true governmental power lies. Yes, the U.S. Congress and the administration, the president, and all of the others involved, the Senate, is the visible government, but it is actually a powerless ceremonial government, whereas the real United States government is the shadow alien government run by the committee. And sadly, the committee has been completely taken over by the alien group, most likely without even realizing it, and the result being the ceremonial United States government is continually manipulated by massive bribes, human compromise, and blackmail to do the bidding of the shadow alien government. Coming from the land of the shadow cosmic walkers, from the fourth and fifth dimensional density, interdimensional density. What also the shadow alien government has now been able to accomplish in the world of intel, being the prefix of intelligence, it has been able to set up and run an incredibly large and powerful Skynet spy system, which uses numerous different data collection and processing platforms, including TV boxes, telephone and cell phone data, while being used or even off in some cases. Some auto-transcribed and also digitized emails, faxes, governmental cables, electrical and water usage patterns, smart meters, travel patterns by cell phone and GPS, and some beyond black methodologies involving ingested chemtrail substances which can be electronically tracked, as well as others that cannot be mentioned here. Yes, this sounds like so-called science fiction to most of the individuals listening to this Nile Valley ultra-terrestrial radio broadcast. This ain't science fiction. And I say again to those various groups of myopic, ignorant, backwards, and subversive, miseducated, misguided, misinformed, and misled individuals, mentally and spiritually desolate, your suicidal attempt woefully against me is now causing a cosmic backlash in the lives of you and your families and your circle of mentally and spiritually desolate androids and zombies pretending to be human beings. Getting back to the subject at hand, quoting or paraphrasing these comments, it is now said it is really all about mind war against all humans. Some have referred to this as being a psi war. I refer to this as being a cosmic war. It is a fair description of the overall functions of the artificial intelligence to assume that it is the epitome of the super ultra high-tech mind war being waged against all humans by an entity that wants to destroy mankind, humankind, and man, and substitute a new human DNA derived hybrid race of its own, because its current races are being extinct from the degeneration caused by evil over the ages. As far as the alien group that has established control over the Rothschild Khazarian Mafia and the Bush crime cabal, we now also know for certain their alien agenda is hateful toward humans and is dedicated to using them as being so-called serfs, also mind control slaves, and then mass murdering them and replacing them with also their own, also new alien human hybridized breed. I should say to these individuals listening, and I was about also to refer to everyone as brothers and sisters, and I have come to the realization that most of the individuals around us, wherever we go, they are not our brothers and sisters. They are bitter enemies toward us, and they are now being handled as being such. Getting back to the paraphrased comments, before I make this comment and continue the paraphrasing, that what is happening, referring to the mass murdering of the mass population and replacing them with also a replica or duplicate or clone of their new alien human hybrid, that is featured and told in the movie The Invasion of the Body Snatchers and other movies. Now, to paraphrase further these comments, in fact, this alien attitude toward humans that has been inculcated in these key 13 bloodline families is one that views humans with complete hatred, disgust, and is deeply committed to ritually sacrificing infants and mass murdering humans in large numbers through pre-engineered and staged wars. Some insiders that have broken away and spoken at great personal risk have claimed the greatest skill the treaty participant alien ET group had was advanced mind control, including the deployment of psi-power, psychotronic mind control, and engineered psychosocial cultural mind control. These methods were so advanced that most humans were like deer in the headlights. We know for certain the alien agenda is empowered by its own artificial intelligence program system by which it can control the leaders of Western European nations and the majority of the citizens too, being also in the process of consolidating all of Earth's political powers into a so-called New One World Order globalist system run out of Jerusalem after all Israelis are removed by war and pestilence. All other nations' governments will be removed and or consolidated into one so-called New One World Order system, which will seat its own world dictator. It is also expected, and I ask you to listen very careful to this paraphrased paragraph and comments. It is also expected by some insiders that as this massive consolidation occurs and nations are destroyed and reconstituted by a nuclear World War III with two major battles, all Rothschild Khazarian mafia, chieftains, kingpins, cutouts, and assets will be sacrificed and also destroyed in a surprising reversal of unexpected misfortune, never expected by the super elite deviant oligarchs that now run the world. Some of you, or a very few, recall the TV series X-Files. In the final episode of X-Files, around 1993, 1994, the so-called aliens returned, and the Illuminati had already sacrificed hundreds of millions of children across the global environment in sacrificial blood rituals to those draconian and archonian, malevolent, demonic, alien entities. And they were caught also totally by surprise as their draconian alien masters and handlers mass murdered all of them, leaving them in ultimate shock as they were being destroyed brutally and mercilessly, like they have also destroyed many hundreds of millions and billions of individuals across the global environment. I now re-emphasize again the ultimate value, significance, and importance of those individuals truly in alliance with Nile Valley Ultra-Terrestrial Cosmic Network and Nile Valley Institute, also to now retune and reset your divine utopian electromagnetic thought vibrations, coming into the synchronization of thought vibrations with us to ride the cosmic arc on the arc frequency, bringing forth our collective thought power, our divine utopian cosmic power through our divine utopian collective meditation. We are now experiencing what is referred to as the return of Imhotep. All across America, there are pockets of so-called African Americans that are now mentally and spiritually awakening. And the so-called hip-hop generation poses an ultimate and frightening threat specifically toward the Vampire Federation of European Secret Societies. That group of individuals was also being reanalyzed and reevaluated through the release of the popular movie that came out during the summer of 2015, Straight Outta Compton. Most individuals have slept on the significance of that movie being released among the rampant and epidemic assassination, murder, and violent hits being put on so-called African American men across the global environment and across the American environment. It has been said that When war becomes declared toward the so-called African American mass population, those individuals most definitely shall be fighting a war against enemies they see, along with also an ultra-terrestrial army they don't see, referred to as the Metu Netters, also referred to in the movie Stargate as the Neteru. We at Nile Valley Institute have been educating and enlightening those few individuals that are truly in alliance with us and are true in their inner search to discover also who we really are, being the title of the forthcoming Utopian Dreams musical collective being released soon by the musical group Utopian Dreams. We must keep in mind there is also a feminist war being declared against our divine, utopian, ultra-terrestrial, original Cometian brother and sisterhood. There are mentally and spiritually desolate Melkite Coptic Negro females that are pretending to be original Cometians that have been embarked on a relentless campaign to declare that women rule, females are the rulers of everything, being an extension of the chauvinist agenda of males ruling everything, based on a Western European subversive pseudo-cultural paradigm. Those Melkite Coptic Negro females are most dangerous and subversive. And they're saying that the women or the female goddess can give birth to offspring without a man, never stopping to think in their diabolical, myopic ignorance that no longer becomes a woman. You are dealing with something far beyond what is referred to as being man or woman. This is why the yin and yang symbol was extended to the mystery schools in ancient Kemet, and specifically the Temple of Nun and the Temple of Wasat, which is referred to as Karnak. Because of our cultural references being suppressed by the Vampire Federation of European Secret Societies, that information was adopted and adapted by the so-called Chinese culture through Buddhism. And see, Buddha was an original Cometian ultra-terrestrial priest who left ancient Kemet during the 6th century, during the War of Cambyses, when Cambyses II invaded Egypt, and immediately thereafter also what had taken place was referred to as the Arab invasion of ancient Kemet during the 7th century, which led to the rise of the so-called Moors and Moorish science from North Africa, in which those individuals had taken the original Cometian mystery system and adapted it to so-called Islam, because the coded phrasing of the Medu Neter, which is now referred to as hieroglyphics, was not comprehended. And so they had to turn it into what is referred to as being Moorish science. Because I remind you again, those of you listening, that when the Western European cave dweller dwelled in caves, ultra-terrestrial, original Cometian men and women had already invented computers, hot and cold running water, and electric lights. And they were flying anti-gravity, interstellar and intergalactic spacecraft, using their minds as the guidance and navigational system. We must keep in mind the information being presented in reference to the CERN, CERN particle accelerator, being used by the Vampire Federation of European Secret Societies to open a portal, an interdimensional doorway, to allow legions of malevolent interdimensional entities also to enter this dimension in what is called the Great Space War between the Nephilim and the Neteru. And most of you have never heard of the Medu Neters or the Neteru because you have been grossly miseducated and you suffer deeply from cultural illiteracy, and you are too mean-spirited and hostile and myopic to allow yourselves to be properly re-educated. There is a CBS NFL commercial that shows the eye opening, the all-seeing eye opening, and some type of particle accelerator emerging from the eye. That is the so-called Khazarian Ashkenazi particle accelerator, opening the dimensional portal, allowing their masters and handlers to come through for the great space war, challenging and confronting the Medu Neters representing the Neteru, also targeting us, the ultra-terrestrial original Cometians, because we represent and channel the power of the Medu Neters and the Neteru. I now say again, we must have a strong and true cultural base to synchronize the flow of our individual thought vibrations collectively toward our divine utopian protection, prosperity, sovereignty, and well-being. Nile Valley Ultra-Terrestrial Cosmic Network and Nile Valley Network is our cultural base, and Nile Valley Institute. And we must place ultimate value continuously toward our collective meditation to retune the cosmic shield protecting us wherever we happen to be located across the global environment, allowing us to ride the cosmic arc on the arc frequency. Because of the diabolical and evil demonic agenda being directed toward the so-called African American mass population by the Ashkenazi Khazarian global corporate banking cartel mafia representing the Vampire Federation of European Secret Societies, we must now also collectively and continuously retune the ultra-terrestrial original Cometian divine utopian cosmic shield, ultimately protecting our cultural base at Nile Valley Ultra-Terrestrial Cosmic Network and Nile Valley Institute. We are now again retuning the implementation and the flow of our collective divine utopian electromagnetic thought vibrations toward our divine utopian protection, prosperity, sovereignty, and well-being, also toward the implementation and management of our ultra-terrestrial original Cometian divine utopian cultural agenda to protect and also defend ourselves toward, against, and from the Melkite Coptic Negro double agents. I now re-emphasize again for you to go to Nile-Valley-Network.blogspot.com. That's one word, Nile-Valley-Network.blogspot.com, and read the printed version of this audio scroll in written form, our cultural base, chapter 1 and 2. Scroll down to the bottom of the page of those Nile Valley scrolls to PayPal to extend your financial pledges. You can also go to Ark Lord Imhotep at our Facebook site and leave your comments. Go also to the YouTube channel to Utopian Dreams, our musical collective. That's Utopian, Utopian Dreamz, and listen to the ultra-terrestrial original Cometian musical sketches posted. And you can also contact me at LordAmenRa@yahoo.com. That's Amen, A-M-E-N Ra @yahoo.com. LordAmenRa@yahoo.com. As we continue to ride the cosmic arc on the arc frequency, this is Ark Lord Imhotep saying to each and every individual truly in alliance with us, Hotep.